I'm so excited for Endgame this week that I'm just hyping up the MCU, and I want to talk about my top 5 favorite MCU fight scenes thus far. What are your top 5 favorite MCU fight scenes? Let's talk in the comments. Welcome to Durbania. I'm Durbin, and this is my top 5 MCU fight scenes thus far. I cannot wait for Endgame to come out this week and see how this movie just changes my whole perspective of the MCU and gives me even more awesome fight scenes to add into this. So I'm super excited about that. Until we get there, I'm hyped and content to go back in time and talk about the standout MCU fight scenes for me personally. What are your top 5 favorite? Let's talk in the comments. Number 5. Iron Man's first appearance in Gulmira. When he first shows up in Gulmira after he sees that little town that Yinsen is from is under attack, and he suits up for that first time, and he flies across the world, breaking the sound barrier, lands there, and that whole scene is just incredible. It's the first time that we get to see Iron Man in action. We get to see the full power of that suit. And of course, you know, that's in 2008, the first time he's Iron Man. So that's very early on in his designing of the suits, you know, even before the nanotechnology that he's sporting in Infinity War. And we get to see just how powerful that first suit he has is. I mean, the way he just takes those guys out and shoots the little things out of his shoulders, the way he takes a shot from a tank, stands up, turns around, and shoots a little thing back at the tank and blows it up. I mean, it's an excellent fight scene. It's just one of those top 5 for sure, because, you know, it's number 5 in my top 5. It's just for sure one of those that really stands out for me when I think of the MCU and some of my favorite fight scenes and favorite moments. Number 4. Doctor Strange and Iron Man versus Thanos in Infinity War. This is that, like, second fight scene, so, like, they do that whole first thing where they try to get the gauntlet off Thanos, and then it cuts to a bunch of cool stuff going on in Wakanda, and then it cuts back over here to Titan, and this is that second time where first we watch the Master of Mystic Arts go up against the Infinity Gauntlet. And it was awesome to watch Doctor Strange and his powers go up against Thanos and the power that he has from those Infinity Stones. And that contest of magic, that contest of powers was just incredible to watch. But then once Doctor Strange is knocked out cold and it's Tony Stark's turn to face him off, and he's like, Thanos.
Stark.
You know me?
I do. You're not the only one cursed with knowledge.
My only curse is you. Yeah, that whole awesome scene. I flippin' love that scene. And so when Iron Man fights him here and actually draws blood, I mean, think about that for a second. All of that stuff that Doctor Strange did, we didn't see a drop of blood drawn. But when Tony goes up against Thanos, finally in this one little scene, and gets a tiny little cut on Thanos' face, it's Tony in his Iron Man suit that makes a little drop of blood. So that's definitely a standout fight scene for me. I loved watching Doctor Strange and Thanos in that contest of power, and then I love seeing Tony Stark and all his rage and fear and all that has been welling up in him go up against Thanos. Number 3. The Doctor Strange reverse time fight. He shows up and it's too late. So what does he do? He breaks the natural order and he reverses time. That whole scene to me is just so incredible to watch all of these characters fighting and interacting with the environment. So as things are reversing and debris is flying backwards, like going back into place, how that becomes the obstacles that the characters have to overcome, as well as the fact that they're, you know, fighting each other. It's such an interesting fight scene. Plus, the musical score that rises in that scene is very haunting. So that entire fight scene where time is reversing and moving backwards was just one of those incredible, memorable MCU fight scenes for me. Number 2, Captain America Civil War, the airport fight. You knew this one was gonna be in here because it's the frickin' airport fight. I mean, it is these heroes that are best friends, but now there's this civil war. Well, maybe they're not best friends, but they're good friends, and there's this civil war, and they're fighting each other, and it's an incredibly well done scene. It's long, but it's intense the whole way through. Like, every time I watch it, like, I'm on the edge of my seat, even though I know exactly what's gonna happen. It's just such a fun scene. But what's so great about it is the added dynamic.
We're still friends, right?
Depends on how hard you hit me.
You were pulling your punches.
I'm sorry.
Me too.
You got hard, kid. Where you from?
Queens?
Brooklyn.
Those little lines and those little quips that are thrown in there are there to remind us these guys are friends. Even if right now, like, their ideologies are competing and they find themselves on the opposite side of the fence, they still have a deep respect for each other. And you can tell it's not like they want this whole thing to break up. They just got to get past this. And so it's interesting, the tension throughout this entire fight, where they're like holding back but not holding back, and then you're throwing in the, you know, awesome elements of Ant-Man and Spider-Man joining the MCU for the first time. It's just one of the most incredible and memorable fight scenes in the MCU. And then sort of kind of cheating, but not really, because actually the tone and emotion is very similar and kind of carries on. It is the Captain America versus Iron Man fight scene. I love that fight scene, but for me, the best part of that fight scene that I love to skip to when I'm watching it on Blu-ray is like the last part of that fight scene, where you have Iron Man and Friday inside of his helmet is analyzing that fight pattern of Captain America. So the suit fights back, and oh, what a good fight. But then Rogers stands up and says, I could do this all day. And then they fight, and then he has Iron Man down on the ground, and he has his shield, and he's just smacking his face until the whole face mask helmet breaks off. And then he comes down, and Tony Stark thinks he's gonna get his head smashed, but no, Steve Rogers is a good guy, not a jerk, and he destroys the arc reactor in the suit, so the suit loses its power. I mean, the emotion in that scene of these two good friends going up against each other. And then by the time you get to this fight, it's beyond just the clash in ideologies. It's just pure emotion coming out of Iron Man, finding out that Bucky killed his mom, that Bucky killed his parents, and just the sheer undealt with anger and emotions inside surfacing. And now he's going after Bucky, Steve Rogers' best friend. And so it was just, all of that scene was just so intense, including like that emotional ending where he's like, you don't deserve that shield. My dad made that shield. It sounds babyish and petty, but he just lost a huge fight. He didn't get the vengeance he had been seeking. He still has these undealt with issues. He was wrong about the Accords and the people he trusted with that. And so it's like, what was left for him to call out to? So Civil War actually had a lot of really good stuff and a lot of really good emotion. Coming in for me at number 1, the freeway fight scene in Captain America, the Winter Soldier. I know this one doesn't have all the huge flair and stuff that a lot of the other fight scenes have had, but that's what I like about this. What I loved about the whole feel of Winter Soldier was a grounded spy genre film that happens to have a superhero in it. And so when you take that and you bring it to this fight, it's just incredible. First off, I love that it's a steady cam in this fight. It's not a shaky cam to try to bring us into the chaos of the fight by shaking the camera. I hate shaky cams so much because I can't see what's going on. And so because it's a steady cam, I can see what is happening in this fight. I liked how overall grounded this entire sequence was. And because it was grounded, this is where I really feel like we get to see the strength of Captain America and Bucky, because you're seeing soldiers and you're seeing spies fight, and it's that typical fight scene you'd see. But then you have the standouts, Captain America and Bucky. So you really get to see how in this grounded world, this serum really does cause them to stand out. And when they fight each other and Captain America sees that the Winter Soldier is his friend Bucky, it's just such a great moment of reveal. Even if us, the audience, knew that moment of reveal was coming, that look on Steve Rogers' face when he saw that it was Bucky was just excellent. So that fight is probably one of the most action-packed, grounded, and emotional fights in the MCU. And when I'm thinking of these fight scenes, I keep coming back to that as one of my absolute favorite fight scenes in the MCU. Now, you may agree with me, you may disagree with me, and that's awesome, because that's the beauty of these movies. There's so many great action sequences with great story elements building up to them. I'm curious to know, what are your top 5 favorite MCU fight scenes as we build up to Endgame? So let's talk about that in the comments below, your top 5 favorite fight scenes. While you're there, hit the subscribe button to become a Durbanian and hit that bell by the subscribe button so you're notified for my very next ranking video, theological analysis, trailer reaction, or anything else I do here. I'm Durbin. Thanks for checking out Durbania.